like to welcome you to coming to our workshop today. Beautiful downtown Youngstown. We've got the sunshine, but I know the construction was really hard for you to get through today. I'm right in that boat with you. We're happy to see the progress going on. It was a little difficult getting those parking space. So thank you very much. We have an in-person audience. We have some folks with us online, and Justin is our planning director, but he's also helping me with the technical portion of this meeting. We are recording because I am not the person you want in charge of your technical capabilities. I can talk about Appalachia, but not run the chat and all that other stuff. So let's begin. This is your workshop, so please, you don't need to hear me speaking constantly for the next hour. If you have a question, raise your hand, give us a shout, put it in the chat, maybe unmute. We want a little bit of dialogue. Feel free. This is interactive. And my goal today is to help you have the tools and the knowledge needed to complete your application. There are some folks in the room, you don't necessarily have a project in mind. You're using this as information gathering, and we're happy always to help you with project development in any portion. This funding that I am going to be talking about today is competitive, and it is through Eastgate as the local development district. We like acronyms, so I will say ARC instead of Appalachian Regional Commission, and LDD as a local development district, which is what Eastgate is. But this funding comes to the local development district. We're fortunate with the ARC program. We have lots of pots of funding, whether it's federal, whether it's state. You probably heard of POWER, Arise, Inspire. Those are great programs. They have very specific criteria. I am not speaking of those programs. I am only speaking of the welcome. I think there's some seats in the back there, and if you didn't get a workbook, please do. Thank you. Yes. So this is a collaboration. Feel free to ask any questions at any time. And with Eastgate as a local development district, we work very closely with our federal partners in Washington, D.C., and our state partners through the Governor's Office of Appalachia. That's the three-legged stool that we call the ARC program. And ARC is a regional economic development agency. We work with our federal, state, and local partners in order to make investments in our communities so that we can improve the lives of the people of Appalachia and to reach parity with the nation. That is really what the intent is of ARC, and as it was established in 1965 by an act of Congress. So I'm gonna do a little PowerPoint. We're also gonna get into the workbook. So let's get started. Here's our Appalachian region, 13 states, New York to Mississippi, and it's about 26 million people. In Ohio, we have 32 counties that make up the Appalachian region. You may hear me refer to our sister agencies. That is our 4 local development districts. We administer the program within our district. And you can see here with Eastgate, we're at the top. We've got 3 counties, Ashtabula, Trumbull, and Mahoney. Then we've got Omega to our south, Buckeye Hills, and Ohio Valley. So Appalachian region in Ohio is about 2 million people. This is why we're here today. Pre-application period is open. It is competitive. We opened it on March 23rd, and it will close on May 22nd. For those of you submitting an application, that is your due date. As I mentioned, it is a competitive process, but Eastgate is here to help you with your technical assistance. If you have a question about how you're answering that, or maybe you want us to review your proposal, we'll be glad to do that. There's changes every year, whether you have applied in the past or not. I will say there's a lot of changes this year with the new administration, new focuses and so forth there. So, we're recording this session. You'll get a copy of it. But if you get stuck along the way, you want to make sure you're on the right track, we are here to assist you. And we'll do that up until 1 day before the grant is due. That's in green because that is new from last year. We did allow you to ask for assistance up until the grant was due, but really we can't do a whole lot of technical help if you're waiting till like an hour before it's due. So let's get that taken care of up to the day before. And even if you need a one-on-one session, we're here for that. This workshop is required, participation is required. You can accomplish that in one of three ways. One, attend in person, in line, or request a copy of the recording. Maybe your grant writer couldn't be here today, or you just want to refresh, but request that copy and we will definitely get it out to you. And then the big day, May 22nd, 3 p.m. That's a Friday. It's actually the Friday before tomorrow. That's when applications are due. Submit it electronically to my email, one PDF, one complete PDF. Do not send multiple attachments, that will be accepted. One complete PDF. Once that email is generated and I receive it, I will send you a confirmation. It says, hey, yes, your application was received. Thank you. And then this is a reimbursement grant, and I'll get into that in a little bit later as to why that is important for you to know. So here we go. For those of you who may be following along in your booklet, I'm starting on page 2 and 3. Not necessarily, you don't have to do that. I'm just letting you know where I'm starting at. In order to qualify for an ARC funding, you must meet at least one of our 5 goals. So we want to build our Appalachian businesses. These are projects that support our local businesses and entrepreneurs so we can have job creation and job retention. Then second, we've got to build that Appalachian workforce. With that, we want a healthy, skilled, educated, and well-trained workforce. So projects in this area are workforce development, workforce training, and then also increasing access to healthcare. Maybe you need some upgrades in your emergency room. Maybe you need some new equipment, like for mammograms or that. Or, in our rural communities, it is so hard to have specialists in the area. So maybe you need help with construction of a cancer treatment center so that folks do not have to travel from Ashtabula or Warren to go to Cleveland or go to Pittsburgh. So that's where we are as far as the work groups. And then infrastructure projects, that's pretty straightforward. Those are your projects like water, sewer, maybe access road, maybe broadband, or constructions of facilities. Then we have building our culture and tourism. I'm sure I don't have to tell you, we have a lot of visitors that come to our area that want to experience what we have to offer in Appalachia. Let's go to those wineries in Ashtabula. I know I've been there a couple times, or the beach, Lake Erie, downtown Youngstown. We've got the Butler, we've got Cavelli, we've got the amphitheater. We have numerous golf courses and parks. Folks want to come to our region, and that brings in a tremendous amount of economic development and dollars within our region. So we want to support that. And then also community capacity and community leaders. We think this region is a great place to live, work, and raise your family. We want to retain our youth, and we want folks who come to visit to actually stay here and help us build our population back up. So those are our goals. Now, who's eligible? Let's cut to the chase. Really, the only one who cannot be a direct applicant, lead applicant, is a for-profit entity, but pretty much everybody else. 2 entities cannot be the direct applicant. 1, a private individual, and 2, a for-profit. Now, we do encourage public-private partnerships. So we want to see benefit to the for-profit sector. They just can't be the lead applicant in them. So our political subdivisions, that would be our cities, townships, villages, and counties, educational institutions, such as our school districts, our career and tech centers, our community colleges, and higher learning educators, such as YSU and state. Then we also have our public institutions. This falls in the lines of your port authorities, as well as public libraries, and then the nonprofits. I'd also like to make mention, an eligible applicant has to be located within the Eastgate district. Your project has to be in the Eastgate district, and you as the applicant must be located in the Eastgate district, which is Trumbull, Mahoning, and Ashtabula. We like projects that are things you can see, feel, and touch. So our projects fall within 3 categories. Not only do we want something you can see, feel, and touch, but it needs to be sustainable. So as an example, construction projects, whether it's, water, sewer, or maybe a business resource center, if your project is an infrastructure project, such as a water or sewer line, basically sewer lines require permits to install. So if you have a project such as a sewer that requires a PTI, you must have the PTI at the time of full application. This is your pre-application, so you don't have to have it now. But if your project is selected to competitively go to full application, when that full application is due, PTI must be obtained. If you do not have it at that time, your project will not be funded in this fiscal year, and you can apply in a future year. Then we have non-construction projects, and those are projects such as equipment and supplies, and then in access roads. Now, I do not know, do we have Kelly Dupree here? Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. I had you highlighted in yellow because you had requested, and thank you for sending your project description. All of you that sent that ahead, that's really a tremendous help. Access road funding comes from the governor's office of Appalachia. It's a special pot of money, and they've been backed up for a few years. We don't always have that funding available, so I'm not sure if it's available this year. I will get back to you. That particular pot, you must have job creation with that, and you need to talk to your LDD, which is me, to make sure it's available. So I will get back to you on that. And then all projects must demonstrate economic development. ARC is a regional economic development agency, so we've got to show economic development. And I will say the new administration is hitting this very, very, very hard. So here we go. How can we demonstrate that your project has economic development? Ask yourself these questions. Does my project create or retain jobs? Does it support or grow businesses? Does it attract investment in the region? Does it strengthen the workforce? Or does it improve infrastructure to lead to economic growth? If you cannot answer yes to at least one of those questions, then this funding is not a good match for you. It's not likely. And you don't have to answer yes to each and every question, but at least to one. So, types of projects that we can't fund are like traffic signals, flood mitigation, bike trails, public safety like a new fire station or 911, revolving loan funds, road maintenance, parking lots, and I put capital improvement projects. That's new this year. What I mean by that is, if say you have a little older building and you need a new roof, you need a new air conditioning unit, or you need to upgrade your restroom to an ADA compliant. That is important. However, that is not what this funding is for. Now, we did do a ADA compliant restroom, but I'll let you know how that was able to be worked into the project. We did a resource center renovation. So within that renovation, a small portion of that was to upgrade the restroom to ADA compliant. That was not the focus of the project. It was a small component, and that's how we were able to do it. But if your standalone project is for a roof, air conditioning, and ADA compliant ramp or so forth, that's not going to be competitive. So now let's talk about how much money we get in our district and some of our matching criteria. We have been very fortunate over the last few years. Our local development district has received approximately $2 million for projects within our 3 county district. Probably on the higher side. I don't anticipate that it's going to be that, but we usually get between 1.2 million and 2 million. We will know our firm figure by June of this year, but we anticipate it's probably going to be pretty similar to the 1.2 million. And there is a match requirement that I'll show you that in our next slide. That's based on your county's economic status. But as far as funding for your projects, ARC is very generous who we can partner with as far as funding. It is one of the few entities that you can partner federal dollars with federal dollars. However, you can't have 100% federal dollars in your project. It'd be a maximum of 80. You can also use this funding to match with state. You can use ARC funding to match with your local dollars, and then also private. And by private, I mean nonprofit or a foundation. A private individual cannot be offered as matched. We always say we want to be last money in, which kind of makes me laugh because it takes a long time to get through approval process. So I do apologize for that up front. But with this pot of funding, preliminary engineering, architecture, and planning, those are very important things, but this funding is not for that because that's not tangible. You can't see, feel, and touch that. So that is not an eligible area that we can fund for you. But think of ARC when you know what your project is, you know your total project cost, you have your funding commitments, and you're just like, well, I'm only short maybe $250,000. That's when you want to complete your ARC application. The maximum you can request on any one project is $250,000. I'm talking forever. Okay, so now with that match requirement that I was talking about on your socioeconomic status or economic status, our two counties, Ashtabula and Trumbull, ARC has indicated they are at-risk counties. So your match is a maximum of 70% ARC and 30% in other. And Mahoney County is considered transitional. So your match rate is 50-50. You may notice in your booklet, there's links that will take you to certain areas. I actually printed a copy of your economic status. I think that's the last page of your booklet. And I also put your federal and state goals there. The links are working, but for convenience, I put it there for you. So with that, again, the maximum you can request is $450,000. And keep in mind for applicants, oh, yes, Pat.
On these match requirements,
Yes.
we are applying for 3 counties.
Yes.
Ashtabula, Trumbull, and Mahoney.
Mm-hmm.
How do I figure out what match?
I'm going to ask. We have a match calculator for you on that, and it's on the ARC website. So I can either send it to you or provide technical assistance. Just reach out to me and we'll let you know.
Thank
Yes, because you're right. If you're serving multiple areas, you can qualify for a different match rate. All right. So I did want to say for applicants who are requesting 150,000 and above, there is a possibility that what you request is not what you receive. You could receive more than 150, you could receive less. Have been times that applicants have received more than they requested. Of course, it cannot exceed your economic rate. But there are times when they've received less. And that's dependent on 2 things. The amount of allocation that we get within our district and also how we can disperse it within the 3 counties. We as the LVD try to fund at least one qualifying project in each of our 3 counties. So now let's see if your project is going to align with the timeline for the ARC funding. As we mentioned, we are in the pre-application period, which is going to conclude on May 22nd. Then we're going to start the competitive review period. That is from May to August 2026. And that will be through the Eastgate ARC scoring committee, which we have 1 representative from each of our counties as well as myself. Then it'll be reviewed by our technical advisory committee, our citizens advisory board, and then ultimately our general policy board will make the final approval on this. From there, the highest scoring applicants, and depending on our allocation, will move forward and be invited to complete a full application. And that full application period is from September to November of 2026. And then you'll turn in your full application. You'll submit that electronically to me also. And then we will begin the full application review period, which is December of 26 to April of 27. That does sound like a long time for review, but there are 3 levels of review, and you must complete and be approved on each level in order to move forward. So first, you're going to start with Eastgate. Eastgate does its administrative review. We'll probably ask you for some clarifications, some questions, and then it will go to GOA. And guess what? They're probably going to have some questions and clarifications for you too. And then if you're receiving federal dollars, which as the LDD, we will assign state and federal. If you are assigned federal dollars, then it will go to ARC in Washington, DC for approval. So that's a bit of a process. And folks always want to know, well, when will our funding be available? Okay. April of 2027 is the earliest that you will have grant approval, and the latest would be August 2027. We have federal and state funding. State project will be approved first because they're on a different fiscal year than the Fed. So many of you who have sat in this workshop and applied, you'll probably be able to say this along with me. I always say to the applicant, and I will include it on my correspondence, do not break ground, go out to bid, or make a purchase of equipment during that review period unless and until you've received an award letter and you've signed your agreement. To do otherwise, you just lost your funding. This is a reimbursement grant. So you cannot be reimbursed for an expense that is prior to the award date. So don't go all the way through the process just to lose it at the end. Okay, and I just wanted to reiterate, technical assistance is available for you. I know this is a lot to take in. We're here to assist. It is competitive and every point counts. So now I am going to go into, which I think I can. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull down. We've just reviewed this information. I want to take you to the project proposal summary, which is right here. It's interactive. We must use this interactive link that you were sent in the invitation. This meeting, also on the Eastgate website. But basically, the project proposal is just 13 questions. You know, I'm going to go through some of it, but not all of it. And you'll find the in-depth directions starting on page 7 for that. I'm going to just point out a few things. First of all is the title. Folks can struggle with the title. And if it's going to take 2 lines to tell us the title of your project, then you need to rename that title. The title should cover 2 things. What is it? Where is it? Waterline improvement, Lake Road, Jefferson, you know, something like that. Workforce Development Resource Center in Brookfield, you know, something of that nature. Just cut to the chase on that. Tell us what it is. Gives the reviewer some information about what the project is. And then we have the project grant, who is the grantee. And that's pretty straightforward. You know, that's the name of your agency, your address, that stuff. But you do need a SAMS, or what we call a UEI. So your new unique entity identification number. And that you can get through sams.gov if you don't already have it. Just keep in mind, those expire like every 6 months. So make sure yours is current. You will need not only to apply, but also to receive reimbursement. So make sure that stays current. And then also new this year, we're asking for your employer identification number. That's your tax ID number. So if you are selected to go to full application, we need that in Salesforce in order to. And then your contact person. This is the most knowledgeable person to answer questions of the project. It may not necessarily be your commissioner, but maybe JP would be the exception to that. It's probably not your mayor.
I disagree.
Oh. It's not typically the mayor or your CEO or the president. It's probably you as the grant writer. So those individuals were typically the folks who sign your papers, but they're not always the person to answer the questions of the nitty-gritty details. So whoever that is in your agency, that's the person you want to put. Okay, we talked about county designations, basic agency. This is not required in the pre-application period. You can put to be determined as your answer, because this only applies if it's a construction project getting federal dollars, and Eastgate can work with you to make sure you have the appropriate agency to help. Now, 6A and 6B, I don't know why, but they tend to give folks grief, and that's really just a copy and paste. So I included the federal and state goals for you, but I'm going to give you an example. Here is the state goals. There's no narrative in this. All you're going to do is say you're selecting goal 3, pick one goal, one objective. All you're going to do is highlight the goal and insert it. Then choose one strategy and copy and paste that in. Straightforward, nothing else there. Then same thing on the Fed. These are your federal goals. If you just chose state goal 3, then you're going to need to choose state goal 3 on the Fed side. Copy and paste. Same thing on the objective. And we always like to provide more information than needed, but not in this section. Yes, Pat?
I'm helping you so you don't have to talk.
I like that. Thank you.
On these, this big state, I don't have it.
Mhm.
There may be several.
Right.
Can we do that?
No. Remember, it says one goal, one objective. Pick what's best, what you think is most appropriate, what's best fitting. And if you need help with that, that's what we are here for, to help you at Eastgate. Good try, Pat. Good try, I have to say. All right. Now, let's go to number 8, the budget. There's a lot of points in the budget. I will tell you, the sections that have the most funding dollars attached to them is right here, but 8, 9, and 12. I got out of my PowerPoint too soon, but I'll review this and maybe have to go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so with the budget, you can see here we have our source, we have our amount, percentage of the portion, and where's the funding coming from and the status. These are all important that you are using one line for each funding source. Like here we have a grant, we have loan, we have funding coming from the private sector as well, the foundation. So we want to know, where is this the funding source from and what is it? Here in this example, you'll see $200,000 is being requested from the ARC grant funds. This is the only line that it says round the nearest hundredths. The other funding sources, whatever they're saying they are providing as match for you, that's fine. But only ARC round to the nearest hundredth. Do not put any cents into here. And then I'll call your attention here too to the total. If you're saying this is your total, 560,019, And your supporting documentation, which is attachment A, it's got to say that same number. Don't round up your totals. Things have to match. Consistency is the key within this application. So if you say it in one spot, it's got to be the same thing in the other, whether it's your title or your total project cost, whatever it is. My application or my little early. Let's talk about, let's go. I want to give you more of an idea. I got out of my project PowerPoint a little early, but I want to give you an idea of what makes a strong application. So for infrastructure, we want you to be able to tell us, okay, there's gaps in our infrastructure. This is why the project is needed. There is a clear barrier to economic growth. Concentrate on economic development like job creation and then make sure that it aligns with industry needs. And shovel ready. I always hate to, that term is kind of annoying, but like I said, this is not the planning stage. This is you're ready to go because we'd like to see these projects completed within 12 months of approval. Sometimes, you have things that happen, weather, COVID, whatever, but we'd like to see projects ready to go. And then common areas where applicants may find that they don't score well enough is they don't have a clear economic impact. They're not able to show job creation or growth. Sometimes the outcomes are just a little too vague. And maybe the timeline is not matching up. So we want to see a strong story to support what you're telling us. So maybe the problem wasn't clearly explained, or the solution doesn't match. Other items that can cause you to not score as well is you don't have those funding commitments documented. Make sure you show that. That really helps your score. Maybe your match is not secured, or it's not clearly showing with the alignment and the priorities, like you mentioned, Pat. We want to make sure the goal you are telling us is in alignment, so we can help you with that. In the scoring, there are 200 points. And to maximize your score, really just follow the format. It's going to be a 2-page project proposal and the supporting attachments. Make sure you have all the attachments, especially showing your funding commitments. And then that will definitely help the reviewers as we go. But your project, and if you're applying this year, you should be able to answer 3 questions really clear. And that is the why, the when, and the how. Why? This is the strategic rationale. What problem are you solving? So keep this in mind as you're completing your pre-app. What problem am I solving? Who benefits? And tie it into that goal that you selected. And then the when. Make sure it's a realistic timeline. We want start dates and end dates. And then note your key milestones, when those are going to be accomplished. And then again, funding is secured. The how is another thing we talked about, is that sustainability component. And we want to know, once this funding ends, what's your long-term plan? How are you going to keep it going? Who's going to operate and maintain it? And what happens after this grant is over? Okay, so with this application, there's just the 2 main components. You have your project proposal summary and then your attachments. Maximum number of pages you can submit with your pre-app is 50 pages. We'll cut it off after that, and then make sure it's in one complete PDF. Okay, those were the things that I had omitted that I wanted to make sure I gave you those tools for thought as well. Let's go back to the description. That's how I remembered. I forgot to tell you. Number 9, lots of points here. There's several bullets. Make sure you answer each and every bullet. when it's asking you to put in the first sentence, what is the project and where is it located? You can tell us that. And also state who's going to own and maintain it. Again, those where those points are that we just talked about. And then your starting and ending timelines. It's important to include all the information that's requested, because if you don't, other folks who do are going to outscore you. There's a lot of people who are in this room. I know last year we had 26 applications. That was the most that we had. So every point does count. All right. Talk a little bit too in the description. Oh, this is new this year. Pertaining to the timeline, that start and ending period. Before we said 12 months, that is no longer the case. Your timeline needs to be a minimum of 24 months. Now, we do anticipate and hope very much that you will complete it before the 24-month period. But with the new administration, they're giving a lot of grief on extensions and amendments. So you don't want to get yourself into a position where you're asking for extension, because they may not extend it in the experience. So we have 24-month period. Then you would not likely need to request any extension. And if you do, you really have to give a pretty strong reason as to why, especially on federal side. Doesn't look good when ARC has all this unspent funds. The new administration wants to recapture those. So we don't want to be requesting extensions. Now I'm going to go to section 12, which tends to give folks a little bit of grief. That's our outputs and our outcomes. And I think it gives folks grief because I know you want to tell me a lot about your project, but in this section, you can't. It's just a bullet and a number and information. No narrative. It has to be in this format. So if you are, Gary, I should have you do this example because this is yours. It's very well done. We want to know your outputs and your outcomes. Your outputs always has to say served, and your outcomes always have to say improved. So this is an infrastructure project. It's telling us we're going to do 9,500 sanitary improvements. It's going to be in 1 LMI served, 83 households served, 3 businesses served. This is straight out of your workbook. This is all right there. It's for you. Trying to keep up. 3 commercial buildings and 2 communities, which are listed. And then your outcomes. Okay, so tell us what's improved there. And then if you have job creation and retention, this is the section you are going to put it. Now, if you have job creation and job retention, you have to have that supported by whoever says they're gonna, create those jobs. And I will say, ARC has a very narrow definition as what job retains. It's in your book, it's in your booklet, and it's also in the handout. So jobs retained for ARC is if this person is going to keep their job, whether the project is approved or not, that is not job retention. Job retention is this person is going to lose their job unless your project goes forward. If they can't say that, we're very happy that individual is going to keep their job, but it's not job retention in the ARC. And then workforce development, here's an example here. Again, we're saying serve and then pair that with improve. I would like to note, like here in this example, 60 students or workers are served, but then over here we say in the outcomes only 50 are improved. That's realistic because we know the folks who start, that number may not make it to the finish line. People move, do whatever, or maybe decide they don't like the program. So outcomes can be a smaller number than what you tell us is served. Okay, now that was the project proposal summary. So now we're going to transition over to the attachments. First one, very important, your total project cost. If it's a construction project, we want to see maybe it documented from a professional engineer with that stamp, an architecture firm, something professional that's coming that can verify that figure, not just a guess. And then also if it is non-construction, like supplies, equipment, how did you reach that figure? Supply documentation on how that number was reached. Now, with supplies, remember sustainability. I've mentioned that a couple of times. Maybe you're doing a workforce program. You're going to offer some training. You need some desks, some computers. That's great. But if it's like an LPN project, I'll use that specifically. If it's gloves, masks, goggles, that is not something that we can pay for with this funding because that's disposable. That's not sustainable. We want those. I know you can see, feel, and touch that, but that's not what we're looking for. Okay. So then we have our support letters. Those are very important, whether it's from, residences, businesses, local elected officials, state elected officials, just showing community support for your project. I would suggest that you seek federal congressional letter of support yet. Wait till you're selected to the full application and do that. Oftentimes our congressional reps won't give you a letter at this stage. So, but the others examples I would definitely encourage you to do. Needs to be on company letterhead and signed by the appropriate person and dated, and it can't be any older than 12 months old. Here we go. This is where we have our definitions for jobs created and retained for you in that support letter, which the employer would give you. Okay. Now we have the matching funds committed. That is important, again, coming from the entity that is supplying it, from the appropriate person, dated. And then, yeah, not more than 12 months old. I know what I was going to say. Not at this level, we know you may not have all your matching funds committed. Maybe you've just applied for OPWC or CDBG. Note in your budget section of the status as pending or applied, and give us the date that you applied, so we know that you've applied for it. Now, in scoring criteria, which is on page 14 of your application here, you will not score as high as somebody who has committed, but it still, you will get points for that as well. And then attachment D, not everyone will have mandates and compliance letters. That depends on your project. But if you have another entity like as the Ohio EPA or maybe the Department of Health, Education, you can include that supplemental documentation in attachment D. Again, you have a 50-page maximum. And then here's that timeline that we talked about. So I wanted to give you examples of a non-construction and construction. And there's your start dates and your end dates. Make sure it's a 24-month minimum. That's a lot of talking. I'm happy to take any questions that you may have, and hopefully I haven't scared you too much and we can have some good applications coming. Anyone? Yes.
I have 3 questions.
Oh, okay. I gotta get a drink of water then.
Yeah.
All right.
The first one is that, can you tell us what do you mean by reimbursement grant? How does that work out?
Yes. That means you have to incur the cost, pay for it, and then request payment. You cannot request that reimbursement until after the grant has been approved. So that's why we say don't break ground. So if you're wanting to buy equipment for Kent State Trumbull campus, don't buy that now. Wait until you get the grant that says, yes, this is approved, X amount of dollars, signed by probably your dean or the president there. And that date, then you can begin to make your purchases. So
My second question is about the attachments. So these attachments are typically PDF files, and at the pre-application stage, we do not have to fill out the form SF-24A, etc.
no, thank
They're
goodness.
just
We don't have to do those federal forms unless you're approved. So you don't have to do that now.
right. And last question about the point system. You can go over the point system. So for example, it says type of project, maximum 25 points.
Yes.
But as I'm reading through, we can score only either of the 5 points. Right?
And you
So
only get 5.
nobody would be able to
No,
take
you
all
actually
5.
can. You can have an infrastructure project with job creation and work, and so that strengthens the workforce. So you can get multiple there.
Thank
You may not, but we can talk about it to try to see if there's any other in there. But yeah, unfortunately, you may only have 5, but other applicants may have more. That's the competitive side.
Over.
Okay, Gina.
I have a quick question. If we applied for OPWC funds last year, we were made aware, we went through the full app at the end of last year.
Yes.
They said that the grant agreement will come in around June. So can I still mark that they're committed funds as the match or not yet necessarily?
Really, you should reach out to Ed Davis of our office,
Okay.
and he would write a support
Okay,
for the
perfect.
project. Let us know where it is, because he's got it broken down as to, these are the projects that have been approved, these are the projects in the bubble, and these are the projects that are not likely to be approved. So if you're in that top tier, it's coming from the Ohio Public Works District, which Eastgate is, that would confirm.
Okay, thanks.
Gary.
Yeah, on that one, Kathy, what I do, I take last year's spreadsheet showing what was awarded, which ones aren't. That's my attachment, and she usually accepts that.
Perfect.
Yeah, you highlight it, yeah. So it's like the cover sheet, and then you put that in there. That would be fine. That's documentation. Yes. Okay, that one,
Question about the local match and the private match. If I have an infrastructure job creation workforce development project, there's a private party attached to that.
What do you mean by private party?
Well, for local match, the private match, you said it had to be like a foundation.
It can be, yes.
Okay, it couldn't be the business that I'm improving.
Sure. Is that a
It
for-profit?
is a for
That's
profit.
fine. They
Well,
can
they
provide
can.
match.
Oh,
They
okay,
can provide match.
okay.
The only 2 entities that can't provide match I misspoke there. For match, it cannot be a private individual. The for-profit cannot be the lead applicant, but they can be a partner and they can provide match.
Okay, the
Sorry, I
company itself,
say that.
not like John Smith.
Right.
But if John Smith owns
XYZ company, and XYZ company gives you a
the
commitment
letter.
letter, that is good.
Thank you.
Yes.
On the, where you said you can't start the project until you get your grant award. So our project, we're in the design phase of our project
Yes.
and we have raised money towards our project. So how do we figure, like, say if we apply for 250,000 and we get it,
Mhm.
how does that? I don't know.
Sure,
I guess I don't know how you figure, like, that's the last in and what it goes for.
Yes.
Because it's a multifaceted project.
Yes, I thank you for the question. As I mentioned, you cannot use this money for preliminary engineering, design, planning. But you can, ARC is not paying for that.
Right.
So that doesn't affect your application. We want to see that design already done. That will be in your timeline. You're going to tell us when that design and engineering is completed. We're not paying for that. You can start that anytime.
We're in process of doing that, but then once we can, because we have raised the money towards the project and we're going to be hopefully starting the project
next year.
Mhm. Can you
And
tell me what the project is?
yeah, it's the Idora Park Experience Museum.
Okay,
And then because we're in the design phase, that should be done probably in the fall. And then we raise some money towards that project. And then I think first quarter next year, we're actually going to start construction.
okay.
So because we're ongoing raising money for this project, and I guess I'm confused as to where that, say if it's 250, where does that fit in when we've already raised money to get this started?
Okay, I think I can help you with that. It sounds like you're going to be seeking a request for funding for the construction of that museum.
Right.
So that's what ARC would be paying. So
Okay.
you don't want to break ground or go out to bid on that construction of the museum until you have the award letter and the agreement signed.
Even though that's just a small part of the overall project.
Yes.
So we wouldn't be able to start, I'm trying to like figure this in my mind. So we wouldn't be able to start construction until like, say, August of 2027.
If that's your approval. Remember, the earliest would be April
Right.
to August, depending if you have federal or state.
So we can't do anything. And if we apply for this and we get selected and we're selected for the full proposal, we can't start construction on the museum until between April and August of next
27.
year.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, because that's the only portion that ARC is paying for. So that's the
Right.
only thing we have a say in. You can do all the other things you want to do, whether it's
Design.
landscaping or engineering, architecture,
Okay.
all of that you can do
Just-
prior.
We
But
can't
for the construction of
start
that
ripping down
facility,
walls and stuff.
right, you can't do that if you want ARC
If we
to
want that
pay
money.
construction. Now, if you want this funding to pay for equipment
Right.
within there, that would be a non-construction. You can start your construction
Okay.
anytime because we are not paying for the construction. In this example, we're paying for the equipment. So you just cannot purchase the equipment until you get the award letter.
Okay. So equipment could be,
What are you putting in your facility?
well, there's gonna be different components. Say for instance, the new entrance is gonna be one component, it's gonna be designed hopefully like a trolley. And then people will enter, but then there's different sections that correspond to different areas that were in Idora Park.
Sure.
So would equipment be, that's like, I don't know what equipment would be.
Well, we'd have to talk about that a little bit. I don't
Okay.
know what your plan is right
It's
now.
it's all complicated.
We can, I would go back to our basics. This is for economic development.
Right.
So how is this construction of this museum going to bring economic development, increase businesses, provide
Tourism.
job creation? How many tourists are going to come into our area and spend dollars in here? And I know that data is available, but
Right.
those are things that you would use to justify
Mhm.
your vision
Right.
to improve our community. So I'm thinking, what are you going to be like, Gulf War tourism and culture?
Oh, yeah, culture and
Yes.
tourism. too.
Yes, so
Yeah.
those are the things you would
You know,
want to do.
development of the East End, helping the development of the East End.
Yeah, downtown development.
Right.
Bringing folks there. Okay, yes,
A few jobs created, we'll have some jobs created.
yes, that'd be great. We'll have support letters for all that. That would be helpful. That'd be helpful.
How do we determine, if we estimate like 8 jobs will be created for the new museum and the new facility, how do we document that? It just
That would
are,
be coming from you as the applicant.
okay, so we
So
would
you as
just,
the applicant anticipate when this facility
okay,
is
Running.
complete. We are going to hire
X
you know,
number. of
paid
people for
employees, tell us who they, type
Type
of
of
function. they were
positions
doing.
that, okay.
Yes, and your, like your hours of operation, is this, 12 months
Yeah.
out of the year versus seasonal, something
Right.
like that. I know you've had a question for a while there.
Sorry.
No, that's okay, that's perfect, that's great, this is good clarification.
Relating to attachment B with support letters,
Mhm.
a lot of the agencies we partner with are both an authority on job creation and retention. So like maybe something like Goodwill or NVMC, they can speak both to the success of our project and also on the effects of the creation or jobs, retained in the area, depending on our project. Are you seeking 2 letters of support then for both the job creation retention?
We don't want to be any more difficult than we already are. You could have a support letter that also has job creation in it.
Okay.
One letter can do both.
Relating to the timeline, just because it wouldn't be necessarily certain when things would come in, would it be maybe stronger for some of us to lean towards saying it would start maybe in August of 2027, just because we wouldn't know when funds would come in then?
I want a realistic timeline.
Yeah.
When do you anticipate starting?
We would probably want to start probably closer to the summer, maybe the beginning of like June.
I would say that
Okay.
because it's going to be in this fiscal year. So
And
I would say
That's
that's okay to say June. If you
Okay.
don't have approval, again, that's why you want a 24-month timeline, because you have a little cushion.
Would it be better then to kind of say like, kind of like what their situation is, like we're doing the design and development that you're not covering and maybe April through June. We anticipate start in June 2027 and then continue past then.
24 months. That would be complete. Follow the examples here, and give us those points of start and end. All right. I think I saw some other hands. Anna.
Is there, okay, so after you get the grant, you do your workforce development or job creation, is there a reporting period on how many jobs you created? Do they have to be LMI jobs or anything like that?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that question because I didn't talk about reporting, but yes, there are quarterly reports that are due. And I always will prompt you to do them because you definitely need to keep on top of that, especially to get reimbursement. But section 12, where I talked about the outputs and the outcomes, that's your performance measures. So when you're doing those quarterly reports, they're going to want to know, okay, you said you were going to create 12 jobs. Did you? And if you always want to have realistic figures, so you want to meet and or exceed, not fall short. I don't recall any situation where they rescinded the funds, but you want to meet or exceed your performance measure. And job creation and retention is only one component of that. If you say you're going to serve 3 communities, 80 businesses, 12 households, then those quarterly reports need to reflect that, yes, indeed, you are hitting those benchmarks.
one more question.
Sure.
About the matching funds commitment letters, can that be something just like a grant award letter from a foundation?
Well, you want a letter
Mhm.
on their letterhead, signed by the appropriate person,
Mhm.
with the title of the project. And there's the criteria.
Okay.
It's listed in your support letters. Support letters in here is telling you what we want to see in there on company letterhead, signed by the person, telling us the title and what the project is, what it's going to do for them. Within a 12-month period, no older than 12 months.
So if we got an award from a foundation, say for example, 500,000, but it was 2 years ago, that doesn't count. So this has
You
to
just
be,
have to refresh it. Was that?
we just have to refresh the letter. That they
Yeah.
have committed this
Now that's
money. We have to,
What I heard you say is support letter. You said 500,000. Are you talking match or are you talking support?
matching funds commitment.
That was not what I answered.
Okay.
I answered about support, but matching funds. Matching funds, basically the same thing.
Okay.
Criteria is here for you. Again, company letterhead, dated, and that's gonna have to be refreshed because it can't be more. And the amount of allocation.
Mhm.
You didn't spend it within the 2 years yet?
Some of it we have and some of it we haven't because we're waiting for all of our design work to be done.
So if you spent the match, you can't use it. You can't say that.
Right, because that, we still have some money set aside.
I would say refresh that letter
Okay.
with current figures.
Okay.
And that would be good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I can clarify that. Great, I really appreciate you taking the time and engaging on the program. We're here at Eastgate to help you if you have some additional questions. I'm also available after this meeting. I would say the best way to reach me is through email because I'm in and out a lot. And I will get back to you. To submit those applications. You will also get an email from me. Very much, I appreciate it. You can, because I work.